I don't wanna die. I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all.
At just 7 years old, Angelina Jordan stepped onto the stage of Norway's Got Talent with no shoes, an oversized dress, and a haunting voice that seemed plucked from the golden age of jazz. The moment she opened her mouth to sing Billie Holiday's Gloomy Sunday, the entire audience froze. No one could believe a child could carry that much soul, that much pain, that much control. Her voice wasn't just impressive, it was otherworldly. It wasn't the sound of a prodigy mimicking greatness. It was the sound of someone channeling it. And when the judges asked her why she was barefoot, her answer left the room speechless. She said she once met a poor girl who had no shoes, and it made such an impression on her that she vowed to never take hers for granted. From that moment on, the barefoot image became her signature, not just a stylistic choice, but a symbol of empathy, awareness, and soul beyond her years. Angelina didn't just win the competition, she ignited a global conversation. Who was this child? How could she sing like this? And perhaps most eerily, why did her voice feel like it had lived through heartbreak she'd never known? But this was just the beginning. Because as the world rushed to crown her the next jazz icon, something else was happening behind the scenes, something that would soon pull her away from the spotlight. Following her jaw-dropping performance on Norway's Got Talent, Angelina Jordan's face was suddenly everywhere. Time magazine labeled her a once-in-a-generation prodigy, while CNN and People scrambled to get interviews. Her clips racked up millions of views overnight, with fans from Tokyo to Toronto mesmerized by this jazz-loving child from Oslo who sang like she'd lived through a war. She was invited to perform at prestigious global events, including the Nobel Peace Prize concert and private events for world leaders. Her renditions of Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, and Billie Holiday tracks captivated audiences who couldn't reconcile the image of a 7-year-old with the smoky, emotional tones of a seasoned jazz vocalist. Quincy Jones himself called her one of the most naturally gifted jazz singers I've seen in decades. Her mystique deepened when she continued performing barefoot, refusing to let the growing fame distort her original message of compassion. But even as she graced television shows and red carpets, there was something unusual. Angelina didn't seem interested in the spotlight. She often appeared shy in interviews, letting her voice do the talking. And soon, just as the world was ready to watch her rise like the next global pop phenom, she vanished. But why would a rising star suddenly disappear at the peak of her momentum? Angelina's sudden retreat from the international stage left fans puzzled and journalists scrambling for answers. But according to insiders close to her family, the decision wasn't a breakdown. It was a deliberate act of protection. The intense global attention, paparazzi pressure, and aggressive contract offers from American talent agencies had become overwhelming. Angelina's mother and grandmother, both instrumental in guiding her early career, made a bold choice. Pull her back before the industry could consume her. They turned down reality TV deals, talk show circuits, and record label offers that required her to move to Los Angeles. Instead, they focused on preserving her childhood and encouraging artistic growth without the machine dictating her next move. This unconventional decision sparked quiet admiration within some corners of the industry, but also confusion. Why reject the world's biggest stages when the door was wide open? In reality, Angelina wasn't running from fame. She was reshaping it. She studied music intensively, wrote poetry, explored multiple genres, and experimented with song composition, all while the world wondered where she'd gone. But in 2020, after 6 years of silence, she returned in a way that no one expected, and it sent shockwaves through American television. The stage was set for another round of AGT, The Champions. Big names, familiar faces, viral stars. But then came the curveball. A barefoot teen walked into the spotlight, older but instantly recognizable. Angelina Jordan had returned. Her choice of song? Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. Not the explosive rock anthem most knew, but a slowed-down, jazz-infused interpretation that transformed the song into something spiritual. Her voice, deeper and even more controlled, filled the auditorium with tension and awe. Within seconds, Heidi Klum was visibly stunned. And by the final note, she slammed the golden buzzer. The crowd erupted. Judges stood. Social media caught fire. Angelina was trending again. But while audiences were celebrating her triumphant return, some began asking deeper questions. Why this show? And why now? Was this the next chapter in a comeback story? Or a brief re-entry to remind the world of her presence? Some speculated that producers had been pursuing her for years, and she finally said yes on her terms. But it wasn't just her performance that made headlines, it was also the reaction of one notoriously hard-to-impress judge that fueled new rumors. Simon Cowell, known for his brutal honesty and poker face, was unusually quiet during Angelina's performance. After the golden buzzer moment, he offered a rare, calculated compliment. "You're one in a billion." But backstage sources revealed more. Allegedly, Cowell had been eyeing Angelina for years and wanted her under one of his talent development arms. But she'd consistently declined. Some whispered that Simon saw her not just as a talent, but as an artist who didn't need the typical industry path. Rumors floated that private label discussions happened, but Angelina's family refused to compromise on creative control. Fans noticed his choice of words measured, almost protective, as if he was both admiring her and warning the industry to back off. While most AGT contestants chase deals, Angelina seemed to leave just as fast as she came. It left people wondering, was she teasing a bigger project? Or was this her final goodbye to mainstream television? One thing was certain, her reappearance wasn't random. It was a message. And just like her barefoot performances, it hinted at a deeper meaning waiting to be decoded. Unlike other young stars who changed their image with fame, Angelina Jordan held on to her most symbolic trait, singing barefoot. In an era obsessed with branding and fashion, her refusal to wear shoes on stage became an act of quiet rebellion. She'd said years earlier that it was a tribute to a poor girl she once met, one who didn't own shoes. But over time, the barefoot symbolism evolved into something larger. Fans started calling her the Barefoot Angel. And even now, during high-profile performances, she keeps the tradition alive. It's become her personal protest against vanity, her way of grounding herself amidst glamour. She doesn't wear flashy costumes. She rarely wears makeup. She doesn't bend to TikTok trends or fast fame tricks. Every note she sings carries intention, and so does every step she takes. In a world that often demands girls grow up too fast, Angelina slows everything down. Her music asks you to listen, not just hear. Her silence between projects demands patience, not consumption. But staying true to yourself in this industry isn't easy. And behind her quiet strength, there were darker moments not many people saw. Despite her composed image, Angelina's journey wasn't without emotional cost. According to several interviews and fan community whispers, she faced internal battles many never knew about. Fame at a young age had isolated her from her peers. She missed school dances, childhood milestones, and normal friendships. Some reports suggest she struggled with anxiety during large-scale performances and questioned whether the public truly saw her or just the viral image they wanted. Behind the scenes, there were conflicts over artistic control. Industry figures allegedly tried to steer her toward pop, but she refused to dilute her jazz roots. One blog post from a former producer even claimed she walked away from a massive deal because they requested she lip-sync on live TV. She said no. Always no. Angelina chose integrity over convenience. But the emotional toll of standing alone in a fame-obsessed world wasn't easy. And yet, instead of breaking, she rebuilt herself on her own terms, starting with a quiet move that went mostly unnoticed, launching her own YouTube channel. Without any major label push, Angelina Jordan began uploading stripped-down performances to her YouTube channel. No flashy visuals. No viral gimmicks, just her voice, a mic, and a piano. Her renditions of Yellow by Coldplay, Valerie by Amy Winehouse, and even Elvis Presley classics quickly gained millions of views, not because they were engineered for clicks, but because they were real. Slowly but surely, she was building a digital empire based on raw talent and artistic purity. Fans noticed something else. She wasn't just covering songs, she was interpreting them. reshaping them emotionally. As her subscribers grew, so did her global cult following. Angelina Nation, as they called themselves, became fiercely loyal, defending her from critics and pushing her content into new corners of the internet. She wasn't trending, she was resonating. Her voice was no longer just a novelty, it was a force. But even this wasn't the end goal. It was the foundation, because as her YouTube presence solidified, she began dropping hints about something original, something personal. And what came next was her boldest step yet. When Angelina released her debut original single Million Miles, fans were stunned. The haunting ballad wasn't just technically brilliant, it was heartbreakingly intimate. Written as a tribute to her late grandfather, the lyrics bled vulnerability and maturity far beyond her years. Critics praised the track as evidence that Angelina wasn't just a cover artist. She was a storyteller, a songwriter, a soul communicator. More originals followed, including Seventh Heaven and Love Don't Let Me Go, each showcasing a distinct shift in tone and vision. No longer bound to the nostalgia of jazz standards, she infused her new music with personal meaning and modern textures. Still soulful, still raw, but more her. The evolution was clear. She was no longer the girl channeling greats. She was becoming one. Fans rallied behind the new era, pushing streams into the millions. Still, she remained without a major label, no glitzy rollout, no algorithm chasing, just truth in melody. And as the music matured, so did the whispers, rumors that Hollywood was circling back again, this time on her terms. As Angelina Jordan's catalog of original music quietly gained millions of views, it didn't take long before Hollywood came knocking again. But this time, the offers weren't the same cookie-cutter contracts she once turned down. Insiders say production companies, music festivals, and even major streaming platforms began approaching her team with tailored proposals, built around her artistic freedom rather than mass-market polish. There were whispers of a Disney-related project being written with her in mind, and speculation swirled that a high-profile biopic was being developed with her as both composer and lead vocalist. More surprisingly, she began appearing on curated lineups at elite jazz festivals across Europe and the US, not as a novelty act, but as a respected artist. Agents reportedly said booking her came with one rule: full creative control, no choreography, no stylists, just the music. A&R reps from legacy labels like Blue Note and Verve began expressing interest, even as rumors hinted she was considering launching her own imprint instead. Fans watched carefully, decoding every Instagram post, every cryptic lyric, every subtle nod. Was she preparing for a major debut or crafting something that would bypass the mainstream altogether? And as the speculation grew louder, her fan base only got more intense and more protective. While most artists chase viral moments to build traction, Angelina Jordan's followers built a movement. Dubbed Angelina Nation, the community transformed into a global force, translating her lyrics into over 30 languages, creating fan-made documentaries, and launching social media campaigns to support her work. They weren't just fans, they were evangelists. When critics questioned her slow release pace, her fans flooded comment sections with essays defending her artistry. When rumors of industry pushback emerged, they responded with fundraising drives, fan art, and reaction videos that consistently went viral. Some even organized local listening parties when a new single dropped, turning every release into a grassroots event. Unlike typical fandoms that cycle through trends, Angelina's supporters stuck through her quiet years and never demanded she fit a commercial mold. To them, she wasn't just an artist, she was proof that you could succeed without selling out. Some media analysts have even compared her following to the early days of Adele or Amy Winehouse, where emotional depth mattered more than Billboard hits. But what truly fascinated people wasn't just her audience. It was how little she revealed about herself despite having millions watching. The silence only deepened the mystery. What exactly was she planning? Now, in her late teens, Angelina Jordan stands on the edge of her most critical chapter, and she's still playing her cards close. Fans are convinced a full-length debut album is in the works, with several studio teasers, lyric fragments, and muted Instagram videos hinting at deeper themes and mature storytelling. There's talk of a Netflix-backed visual album with jazz fusion scoring and cinematic storytelling unlike anything in the current market. Others believe she's working on a stage production that blends poetry, visual art, and live jazz in a completely new format. But as usual, Angelina refuses to confirm or deny. Instead, she posts handwritten lyrics, reads Rumi, shares photos of sunsets, and lets the mystery build. The question lingers: is she intentionally delaying a traditional launch, or is she redefining the way an artist arrives? In a world where everyone's screaming to be seen, Angelina whispers, and the world leans in. Industry insiders are split. Some call her the next great disruptor. Others fear she's too principled to break into the mainstream. But her fans? They're convinced the storm is coming. Because while she may not shout, her silence always signals something seismic. And if the rumors are true, 2026 could be the year she changes the music industry forever. Behind the angelic image and media silence, Angelina Jordan's path hasn't been without friction. Multiple insiders from talent shows and record labels have come forward anonymously, describing her as impossible to market and unwilling to compromise. One former exec even claimed she turned down a 7-figure deal because the label demanded a pop-leaning debut with co-writers she didn't trust. Some producers labeled her difficult. Others said she was too jazz for Gen Z. But supporters argued it's precisely this resistance to commodification that sets her apart. She wouldn't dye her hair for a brand deal. She wouldn't lip sync for a televised performance. She wouldn't fake a smile for a press junket. Her refusal to play the game made her both a target and a legend. Still, the pushback took a toll. For years, doors closed on her simply because she refused to walk through them the industry's way. But as indie artists gain more power in the streaming era, Angelina's strategy seems less like rebellion and more like vision. And behind that vision, quietly but powerfully, has always stood the same two people: her family. Throughout her journey, one force has remained unshakable: Angelina Jordan's family. Her Persian grandmother, a former jazz singer herself, introduced her to the genre that would define her life. Her mother, an author and artist, is the silent strategist behind the scenes, protecting her schedule, guiding her branding, and ensuring no opportunity violates their values. Her younger sister, often seen in older vlogs, provides a rare glimpse into Angelina's softer side, playing games, singing duets, and grounding her in everyday life. Unlike most child stars whose careers are controlled by managers or executives, Angelina's path has been carefully, lovingly shaped by family. They turned down early fame to let her grow. They shielded her from predatory contracts. They kept her grounded in art, not ego. Even when Angelina considered signing with legacy jazz labels, her mother reportedly intervened, insisting on 100% creative ownership. This firm foundation is what's allowed her to flourish in an industry designed to devour young talent. And now, with a decade of experience, a loyal global following, and total control over her narrative, Angelina Jordan isn't just surviving, she's about to redefine what it means to rise.